For the rest of the show, I'm being joined by Mrs. Alero Ayida-Otobo, founder, Incubator Africa, and CEO of the School of Politics, Policy, and Governance. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Constance, for having me.
64 today. What is it? Let us share with us one anecdote that you remember about what Nigeria was. Briefly.
Briefly, I will. I have many happy memories growing up and living in Nigeria. So I've really been thinking what has been incredible. And I'll tell you, my time in my secondary school, Queen's College, the preeminent, if I may say so, preeminent girls' secondary school in Nigeria. It was one of my happiest 10 years.
Where was that located?
In Yaba.
Okay.
Yeah, so Queen's College for girls, King's College for boys. My father went to King's College. My two brothers went to King's College. My sister and I went to Queen's. What was wonderful about Queen's College? It was the friendships that were built with girls, students from all over Nigeria, the diversity, that diversity can work, that you can live in unity. That is what epitomizes and separates Queen's College from most other schools. And 50 years later, I was telling a friend, 50 years later, after I've left secondary school, two of my classmates are at the very top of their profession. I don't know whether you know, the newly appointed Chief Justice of the Federation. We were classmates.
Right.
The Vice Chancellor of University of Lagos, Falashade Ogushola, my classmate. What we did, we played together. We loved on one another. There was compassion. We were values driven. We were taught how to look after the environment, to keep our rooms clean. And for me, those were one of my happiest. Yes.
You know, let's stay on education because you are passionate about education and politics. Yes. And so you run this School of Politics, Policy, and Governance.
Yes.
You claim you're raising a young crop of Nigerians to take over politics and change it.
Yes.
How is that going?
It's been an amazing experience. It was an idea whose time has come. And it is rooted in research because the research has shown that poor governance, poor leadership leads to poor governance, and poor governance leads to poor economic development. So you can't break out of poor economic development without paying attention to your leadership, because poor governance will always lead to increased poverty. The data shows it and confirms it.
What qualities or skills do you believe are essential for politics, for policy makers? Because that's part of what you're teaching in your school.
One of our mantras, if you go to our website, one of our mantras are what we call the 3 C's. The first one, which is preeminent for us, is character, then competence, and capacity. We believe that if a nation is going to be transformed, and history shows it, go from nation to nation, from China to Singapore, to Rwanda, to Botswana, it is leaders that are values-driven that cause a shift to take place. So at the school, SCPG, we are big on character. We refuse to compromise. And it's one of the key messages. If we want to transform and change Nigeria, we have to go back to the values that our fathers and forefathers upheld and continue to uphold.
I'm glad you talked about the values our forefathers upheld, because when you look at younger people today, they did not witness a Nigeria that was good. So there is no reference point. And most times when we're talking about how to shape the future, people are copying things from abroad and they're not thinking about what do we have inwards. So what approaches are you using at your institution to build this crop of emerging political leaders? Yes.
One of the things that we do right at the beginning, the first 1 month of our 10-month program, we've called it the acculturation program. Why? Because we want people to come in and get their mindsets disrupted. We want their mindsets transformed. We want them to know that it is not business as usual. It is not the status quo. We need people who are going to think differently, people who are going to solve the problems. And the first thing they have to get right is the character, integrity, honesty, hard work, the things that, if you think about it, the first 10 years, 20 years of Nigeria was built. Even moving from the colonial situation to independence, what was it? It was a people that were driven by values. And we can name them. They could stand and represent us in any part of the world. And I think we need to go back to the basics. I think our primary school, secondary school, the curriculum needs to go back to character education. And many countries have character education. I would like to see that in our curriculum, so that right from the beginning, we're putting emphasis on it.
Right. You know, there are politicians that will be looking at you and laughing and saying, you know, you can do whatever you want to do in your school. When it comes to politicking in real life,
yes,
it's different. What do you say to those people?
Let me tell you what I say. And I'm smiling, as you can see. I say that if you jump from the 25th floor, what will happen to you? You will hit the floor. You can't break the law of gravity. So I have this belief, firm belief, that you cannot keep breaking the laws of governance and hope to see a different result. So let them laugh. But what will happen is that Nigeria, unless things change, Nigeria will continue, unfortunately, to deteriorate unless we change the narrative. And that narrative is that you can't break the laws of governance, just as you can't break the laws of gravity.
Very powerful. A follow-up to that question will be, how do you balance the theoretical and hands-on experience that is needed in governance for your students?
I like that question. Thank you, Constance, for asking that. One of the things that we focus on during the 10 months is the capstone project. So what we want to say is not all about theory. It is not actually about theory, because all our subjects are rooted in research and what pertains in society. But our capstone project is saying, now that you've learned new knowledge, skills, go out and solve real problems out in the community. So they form capstone project groups. They go out and they solve different. I wish I had more time. I'll have told you of some of the projects, but that is engaging with the community and solving the problems that the community is facing. And that's what we also need to do with our political leaders.
You know, sometimes or many times, if you want to do right in politics, it's a lonely journey. The people that have the right vision are few. A lot of people run away from the space. So what kind of network do you have for alumni? Because you need that support system.
Yes, you do. We had 55 of our students, alums, running for office last year. And it's very clear that you have to build a network and a platform, an ecosystem that supports, that not just trains, but supports and possibly funds their ambition. So we got what we now have as a new program that is a spin-off from the School of Politics, Policy and Governance. And it's now that you're ready to run. And that ready to run is like an accelerator program. We're going to equip you. We're going to give you what you require. We're going to build a network. We're going to give you, just guide you through the entire process. And we're excited about that because we're convinced that that's really the future and what we need to do next.
You sound so hopeful. How do you say hopeful? As a CEO that sees what's going on.
Let me tell you what I say, Constance. I call myself an eternal optimist. I refuse to be deterred by what I see and what I hear. I believe that Nigeria, greatness lies with our youths, with our women, and through technology. So let's begin to ignite, activate that greatness, because Nigeria is waiting for the custodians of the future. You and I and the next generation are those custodians. And SPPG is raising those custodians.
Final word on this day of independence.
Yes.
Your final word.
My final word.
Yes.
I love Nigeria.
Okay.
I'm proudly Nigerian. And I love the continent of Africa. And we're going to fix it.
Right.
Yes.
That's
my father
very optimistic.
taught me to fix it, and we're going to fix it.
Okay. Thank you so much, Madam
Thank you for
Alero,
having me.
joining us.
I really enjoyed this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, that's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Do join us again tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja, it's goodbye, and thank you for watching.